Brandon Roux is my name. How's everybody doing? Good. So I am here to help out with this tornado project with these two fine young ladies, and to add a little maybe at the end and answer any questions that anybody has. And I've got a couple of experiments and things in addition to what they have, but I'm going to let them do their presentation and then I'll speak for a little while. Ladies, you ready? All right.
Storms wait, hold on. Let's say the title first. What is a tornado? Storms begin with a large amount of cold air come in contact with much warmer air. Tornadoes begin with thunderstorm clouds. Not all thunderstorms are strong enough to cause tornadoes. It takes a special kind of thunderstorm called a supercell to make a tornado. Only one in 1,000 thunderstorms produces a tornado. The difference between a supercell and regular thunderstorm is called a wind shear. A wind shear is when the clouds are racing in different directions and the soft breeze is blowing. This is because okay, I was at the right spot. This is because the clouds are being moved by a faster, higher wind than the trees on the ground. The thundercloud is smaller space where winds pass in different directions. Much closer together, the air caught between them starts to spin to make a vortex. In the storm cloud, after it stretches into a tube, and when it hangs below the thundercloud, it is called a funnel cloud. It is not a tornado until it touches the ground. Storms that make tornadoes make a lot of thunder, lightning, rain, or hail too. Tornadoes do not move very fast, only about 70 miles per hour. The tornado's funnel winds can blow about 312 miles per hour. It causes damage. A tornado is a fast spinning tube of air that hangs from the bottom of a thunderstorm cloud and touches the ground. A tornado acts like a giant vacuum, sucking up anything in its path.
Take shelter. Go into a basement or somewhere underground. If you do not have a basement, go in the bathtub or pantry. Make sure it is not near windows. Do not try to follow or beat a tornado. If you are driving a car, try to get to the closest building you can find. When you are outside, run to shelter. If you do not see shelter, find a ditch. What is a ditch? It is a hole in the ground. Make sure you do not get hit by something big or sharp. Cover your head. If you have a phone, call 911. Learn what the different weather alerts mean and make a plan and practice it.
Tornadoes, also as twisters, the violently rotating columns of air that reach from a storm cloud city or surface. The winds of a tornado can reach speeds up to 480 kilometers per hour. That's strong enough to peel the roofs off houses, uproot trees, and hurl heavy objects such as cars hundreds of meters.
Some tornadoes last for 5 minutes and some last for 10. Some tornadoes as fast as 50 miles per minute. One tornado could at least kill 30 people. Tornadoes could even crush 50 houses at once. Always be prepared for a tornado because you don't know when a tornado could happen. Below is a picture of what a tornado will look like.
Tornadoes come in different shapes and sizes. Some may appear as wide funnel-shaped clouds, others as thin rope-like swirls stretching from the ground to the sky. The duration of tornadoes and the distance they travel varies. Most last less than 10 minutes and travel 5 to 10 kilometers before disappearing. The extreme cases, however, they can last several hours and cross distances over 150 kilometers.
A tornado is one of the most destructive storms. People dying can occur. Can be prevented if safety tips are followed. Garden City has an emergency siren that will turn on if there is a tornado. The city siren on Saturdays around 12 o'clock p.m. to make sure it's working. A tornado watch means that the weather is right for a tornado. Start getting ready just in case. A tornado warning means the weather radar shows a tornado or someone saw a tornado. People should find shelter. Be prepared. Have practice tornado drills with your family. If you live in your house, go in your basement or the center of your house.
Tornadoes are measured using the Fujita scale, or F scale, ranging from F0 to F5, with F5 being the strongest and most destructive. The deadliest tornado ever recorded was in Bangladesh in 1989. As it traveled through the Dhaka region of the country, more than 20 villages were destroyed, around 300 people were killed.
Tornado Alley is in the United States. The states that are in Tornado Alley are Minnesota, South Dakota, Iowa, Nebraska, Colorado, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. It has the most of the world's tornadoes. This area can see more than 200 tornadoes a year. Tornadoes are measured by using the Fujita scale, F scale. It ranges from F0 to F5. F5 is the most destructive. Strength FO, EF 0, EF1, EF2, EF3, EF4, and EF5. And the wind speed is 65 to 85, 86 to 110, 111 to 135, 136 to 165, and 166 to 200. And damage, light, moderate, considerable, severe, devastating, incredible. Tornadoes are also known as twisters. Tornadoes can look as wide, funnel-shaped clouds. Others look like thin ropes like swirls. The deadliest tornado was recorded in
Bangladesh.
Bangladesh in 1989. The trail destroyed 20 villages and about 1,300 people. Some tornadoes are invincible and self-justice. Tornadoes are so unpredictable that it makes scientists not completely understand how a tornado forms. Okay.
The formation of a tornado is so complex that science. So we're just going to stop that for a second and just finish it.
And there's a tornado in the bottom.
formation of a tornado is so complex that scientists still don't completely understand it. And what's more, the unexpectedly of tornadoes makes them difficult and dangerous to study. A tornado will be demolish everything in its path, including measuring equipment, and so the secrets behind the incredible force of nature aren't yet to be discovered. Not all tornadoes are easy to see. In fact, they can be invisible until they pick up dust and debris, or a cloud forms within the spinning funnel. If a tornado occurs over water, it's called a waterspout. Most of the world's tornadoes occur in the United States is what is known as Tornado Alley, stretching from the West Texas to North Dakota. This arena can see more than 200 tornadoes each year. Can we remember the questions?
Oh, time out. I have to answer questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Have you seen something get sucked inside a tornado?
I have never seen a tornado personally, but I have forecasted for tornadoes a lot. So I have never seen anything get sucked in, but I have seen video, just like you guys probably have, of things getting sucked into tornadoes. Sometimes there are, does anybody know what a tornado over water is called?
A water spout.
A water spout, yeah. Sometimes they suck up fish and throw them around, and people think that it's raining fish. Sometimes, have you seen the movie Twister? There's a big cow that gets sucked into one, and stuff like that happens. But I've never seen it personally. I'm not a big fan of storm chasers. As they said, it's too dangerous.
How many tornadoes could go in a month?
How many tornadoes can go in a month? Well, the May, June, July are the main months. So if we're talking about Tornado Alley, 200 a year, most of them during that, I would say, maybe 50. That's an estimate. Are you guys studying estimates yet? Math?
Yeah.
See, just if you sound like you know what you're talking about. About 50. Confident.
Sensor said you never seen a tornado in personally. Where was the worst tornado you showed on the weather?
The worst tornado I showed on the weather was not too far from here, near Ann Arbor, in a town called Dexter. It was about 5 years ago. It was an EF3. We thought it was an EF4 tornado, 150 to 175 mile an hour winds, and it ripped communities completely apart. Just tore houses down to the foundation, and somehow, some way, nobody died, nobody was even hurt. Why? Because they listened to the goofy weather guys. They had storm sirens. They were prepared, as these guys are telling you, that we all need to be. They all got to where they needed to be, and they survived the storm. But that was a major, devastating, if anybody YouTubes my name, you'll see a video on there. There's a couple, but I did a lot of work showing the neighborhoods after they got torn apart, and you can look at that and just see how nasty it was.
How can you tell that there's going to be a tornado?
Well, they are very difficult to predict. We generally have an idea 2 or 3 days ahead of time based on clashing air masses, warm air and cold air hitting together. So we know essentially when that's going to happen, but exactly where in that area of cold meets hot, where is a tornado going to form and drop down? Where is the supercell thunderstorm in a line of thunderstorms that are strong, medium, supercells? Usually, if we can give 15 to 30 minutes of advance notice, believe it or not, that's considered a success. We try to prepare you for a day or two ahead of time, and then boom, you know, we get on TV as quick as we can and warn people. Radar, we have tools on radar that show velocities as a thunderstorm cloud can be up to 40,000 feet up in the air. And we need wind to be stronger as it goes up, and we have ways of knowing when winds are coming in from different directions. So there's different things that we can tell on radar that show. Also, there's a classic radar signature called a vortex signature, and it has a certain shape to it that we look at very closely and monitor that to see if a tornado could come in the vortex signature.
Are you scared of tornadoes?
Very scared. I am not joking. You know, sometimes you have to just face your fears, getting up here in front of the class and talking. So for me, working on television and preparing people for storms like winter storms and tornadoes and
Harvey.
windstorms, hurricanes, that is a place where I feel very comfortable. But when I'm at home and the thunder shakes my house, I get extremely nervous. My kids are nervous. I don't know why. As I've gotten older, I've gotten nervous about a lot of stuff. But the weather makes me nervous, for sure. And for good reason, right? Who wants to mess around with a violently rotating column of air that isn't going just this way? It's going this way, and then it's going that way, and then boom, it's coming to you. You don't know which way it's going. I don't want to be anywhere near that and something that can kill me. So, no thanks.
Since you've never seen a tornado, how many tornadoes could happen at once?
How many tornadoes can happen at once? Well, from like in the same area, there could be, I don't know the exact answer to that, but I know there are thunderstorm lines that spawn or produce multiple tornadoes at once. So it's not just one. And sometimes they merge into each other and get stronger. Two small ones will become one bigger one. But there can be several at one time in one area. And they think that in the Dexter area, when that one hit, there were multiple tornadoes, but it moved really, really slowly through the area. So usually they whip through pretty quick. This thing was going like 10 miles an hour, just, you know, churning and spinning. But they think there were two in that area.
So, we're done with the questions.
You're done with the questions? Well, I want to, how about a big round of applause? Well, I learned a couple of things there too. But it is the most daunting, scary time in weather. You know, usually it's in the springtime, severe weather season, and we need to be ready for it at any moment. And it doesn't just happen during the spring and summer. The Dexter tornado happened in March. We've had tornadoes in December and January because Mother Nature doesn't always follow the rules. Sometimes, you guys know, if you think back, sometimes it gets crazy warm in January. It's like 60 degrees outside. That's warm enough to have a strong cold front come in and create that clash of warm versus cold. So it can happen at any time of year. Michigan averages 15 to 20 tornadoes a year. A lot of times they happen in the middle of nowhere. Farm fields, they're skinny rope tornadoes, as they talked about, EF0. Most tornadoes are EF0, EF1 on the smaller scale. And it takes a lot of work to determine whether or not something was a tornado. Do you guys know what the National Weather Service is? Mm-hmm. It's a group of people. They're located up in White Lake, which is up near Pontiac. It's north of here, 30 or 40 miles. And those are special government scientists, meteorologists, who issue warnings and watches for every kind of weather. But they also go out and assess what happened when something was reported. Because sometimes a thunderstorm, as it is getting ready to just completely die out, it just takes one last little breath and then lets go and creates a downburst wind. It's a collapsing thunderstorm that creates straight line winds. These winds come out of a thunderstorm and just like a freight train, straight down a line. Tornadoes, as I said, can go this way and then that way and that way. So this team of scientists will go out and assess the damage. If they see that only the houses on this side of the street from here down to the end of the block got hit, nobody on that side of the street or in the backyard or anywhere elsewhere were hit, they think, well, that was probably just a collapsing thunderstorm, straight line wind event, so that was not technically a tornado. But if they do determine that the damage happened sporadically in a crazy fashion, that would be more of a tornado characteristic. But they changed the scale. They mentioned the Fujita scale. It's now called the enhanced Fujita scale, EF0 through 5. And the scale changed because they changed the way they determined how strong they were. If they noticed that a barn got knocked over, they have certain criteria. They look up and they say, okay, barn got knocked over, that's under the EF1 category. But then we see that a big building also got knocked over. Look, that now puts us into an EF2 because it takes a certain strength of wind to knock down a big building. It doesn't take a lot of strong wind to knock down a tree or a shed or something like that, but the bigger the building, the stronger the building. That tells the scientists how strong that storm was and what kind of damage it did. So I have a couple of these tornadoes too. I'm not trying to one-up you ladies, but I brought two. And this I got at a little science store, like a Discovery store. They may sell them over at the Henry Ford Museum, but it's this little blue piece that you can screw two of these things in together. It's easier than doing what we did to our other ones because they can get a little messy. It has a tiny hole in the middle of it, but I like to show you an example of what it takes for a tornado to form. In this example, this is just our thunderstorm producing rain, right? But it needs a little help to get going. The ladies mentioned wind shear. That means wind is coming in from different directions, this way and that way. And what will that do? It's going to make it spin. Just a little bit of spin is all you need. For a little tornado. This has been in my car for 3 months. All right, we'll get the other one to work. See how it's sucking out all the air? So this one's a little more messy, but these ones are a little more fun because it's a bigger size tornado. That one has a tiny little hole in it. This one has nothing. I didn't even put a washer in this one. But I did change this right before I came, so this one's going to work. Give it a little spin for our wind shear, and you get a big, fat, fast tornado. Probably an EF3 right there. But without that rotation, that spin, that wind shear, look at that. That's a good one. The storm will not begin to rotate. You know, sometimes when you're taking a bath and the water's draining out at the very end, what do you see going down the drain sometimes? It creates a little funnel, right? That little tornado. You can kind of see it toward the drain. Well, that's because the water is coming down toward the drain and it's hitting against the side over here and it's hitting against the side over here and it starts a little swirl and that creates that little tornado by the drain. And have you ever watched figure skating? So you see the figure skaters sometimes pull in and start spinning around and they can pull themselves tight and create a faster spin. And that's that same kind of thought of, you know, a violently rotating column. It gets, the more wind shear it has, the faster it'll spin, and it increases the low pressure and it sucks everything into it. So again, this one kind of shows us, mine's already starting to leak, a big tornado. This one usually is smaller, but I have another one. This one's fun to do at home. You guys want to do this the next time you're gathered around Saturday morning. Mom and Dad are making pancakes. Everything you need is right in your kitchen. It's a tornado in a jar.
I was thinking of doing that, but like you said, no, that's too hard. It's too hard.
She said no. Brandon Roux is going to bring that one, don't worry.
Oh, I've seen this one.
You seen this one?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so
Science class once.
liquid dish soap and vinegar. Stinky vinegar. Probably going to smell in here. So I don't have a, you just want 1 spoonful of each, but I'll put just a little bit of soap and a little bit of vinegar. Vinegar is going to help to separate the bubbles from the water and create a tornado in there. You can also add food coloring to it if you want. Again, you've got it right in your kitchen. But if you use the wrong color, as I've found out, it doesn't work. Like red doesn't work. Green works really well. But sometimes too, if you add too much, it gets really cloudy and soupy in there and you can't see the tornado. And this should work 3 or 4 times, but because it's liquid dish soap, it's gonna get a little too sudsy after a while. But again, this is our thunderstorm. We create a little wind shear. We spin it around. We have our, look at underneath. Right over you, look up. This guy is not impressed.
My dad got sucked in a tornado. He's stuck in a tornado now. Because he got sucked in a tornado. That's a good one. I got sucked in a tornado. I don't want to get sucked in a tornado. That one's I don't need
So does anybody have any questions for the ladies or for myself about tornadoes, about Channel 4, about how much money Rhonda Walker makes? Yeah.
How do tornadoes stop?
How do they stop? They usually, they lose their strength by the lack of wind shear. Like anything, like a cheetah running to catch an animal, or us doing a lot of work, after a while, you lose your energy. So when that wind shear stops spinning that storm, it'll start going on its own after a while, because it's already gotten going. But it's sort of, after usually 10 to 20 minutes is the average sort of time that one will last. It simply just starts to dissipate, fade, due to Overuse, yes.
Can a tornado break sidewalk?
I'm gonna say yes on that one. It's probably something that by picking something up and throwing it at something, you know, something heavy that would land on a sidewalk, concrete would shatter it from the force of it. But the pressure, we say high pressure and low pressure. You hear meteorologists talk about that. Low pressure means there's a lot of force lifting up, and that's not good. Usually low pressure is storm, and these storms have such low pressure and they're just sucking stuff straight into the tornado. That pressure is probably strong enough to rip some concrete from the ground as well. But again, I've never physically seen it.
Like if you had like a concrete house.
Yeah, I mean that would be better than, it's like the three pigs, you know? You don't want the straw or the stick house, you want the brick house.
I have a statement. When I was in Tennessee, we almost had a tornado. There was a bunch of weather alerts and everything.
When was that?
I went to Tennessee last year over spring break.
I was there too. I swear. I was with my church on a mission trip in Johnstown, Tennessee. And this was in spring break, so it was late March, early April. And of course, my mission group was like, hey, tell us what's going to happen today. We were in the Roux Mountains and had no Wi-Fi or no service or anything, so I went into town and talked to the meteorologists at the station they had there, and that was a scary day, but we didn't see any tornadoes.
The bad thing is we were in a hotel.
Yeah, sometimes you're at a shopping mall or a hotel, and so what do? Most of these places have storm plans in place. They have a safe room. You want to get to the lowest level of that building, and if there isn't a basement underground, then you get into a bathroom or closet in the middle of the lowest level. Why? Well, you don't want windows, right? You don't want glass breaking and flying around. Remember the pressure, a lot of pressure is a lot of wind. There's a lot of objects even inside your house that could fly around. So you want to be in a closet or a bathtub, bathroom, something that has a door away from the windows. Yes?
What if you had windows in each room, but not a basement?
Tell me about your neighbor's house. Let's hear about the layout. Find a good neighbor. Well, I would have to believe that somewhere in the middle of that room, there's somewhere where you, in the middle of the floor, the lowest floor, even if it's just a tiny closet or something. Otherwise,
Don't they say the bathroom? Is the bathroom in a place?
there should be.
There's no window. My bathroom has a window. Mine too. Mine too. Lexi has a.
What floor is it on?
The middle floor.
Is there a lower floor?
Yeah, the basement.
That's where you want it.
I have 3 bathrooms.
So you guys know where to go. This is a good idea to talk to mom and dad when you get home. Just make sure you have a plan in place. Yes?
When I went to tour, we got inside this machine that made you experience a hurricane, but it felt more like a tornado because there was so much wind.
Every storm is